Hey, I'm John Weber. I'm here with Ryan Cleek and Nicole Formosa. We're here in Marquette, Michigan, inside Black Rock Brewing's canning facility with the 2018 Bible bike tests. And we're here talking about the Cannondale Trigger. What do you guys think of this thing?
It's pretty interesting, you know, kind of on the edge of the all-mountain aggressive trail category bike. It's, you know, it's got that unique Gemini shock, which is kind of, for a single pivot bike, really adds a kind of a layer of uniqueness that Cannondale's kind of known for. And that's actuated on the right side of the handlebar. And what that does is it doesn't actually add like a pedaling platform or anything, but it kind of reduces, it's like putting an imaginary volume spacer in the shock, which basically reduces the amount of stroke you can have and kind of theoretically makes it more efficient. Do you guys, how'd that work for you?
Theoretically? No, I thought it did. I thought pedaling-wise it made it pretty efficient. I loved having that option on the fire road. I definitely used it there. On single track, if the climbing was technical, I liked having it in the open mode, which is the flow mode.
And I felt like, for me, I felt like it was efficient enough with good traction. Like I didn't feel like I needed it to be in hustle mode. I switched it in on the fire road, and like John said, I felt it, but I didn't really need it. I mean, I felt like it pedaled really well in flow, actually.
You know, at the 145 millimeter travel bike, it worked as advertised. It remained supple. It climbed a little bit better. However, they offered that same shock on the Jekyll, which is a longer travel bike even. And so I think the Gemini shock might really shine in that application.
Yeah, I agree. I'd be curious to ride on that bigger bike.
And there's a lot of bikes these days have a pedal mode lever, which does kind of initiate a pedaling platform, which is a little bit more firm. It feels like you've added a lot of low-speed compression, and it's a noticeably different kind of ride quality when you employ that. This is not really like that. The shock remains kind of more supple, kind of fully active, just has a shorter stroke, therefore it's slightly more efficient. And however, to do that, to get it in that mode, you have to use the handlebar mounted lever, and it's on the right side, you know, above the shifter. And how'd you guys get on with that?
I mean, it is what it is. You know, if you're going to add an extra lever, it has to go somewhere. It was a little bit of a weird spot because, as you said, it's right above the shifter, so it made it a little, I think, confusing in the moment. Like if I was trying to hit the shifter, or if I was trying to hit the mode lever.
I think I had a little different placement. I rode the women's version of this. It comes in two different versions for women in small and medium, so kind of a little bit smaller sizing. And I actually didn't mind the lockout. Usually I don't like remote lockouts like that, and I think maybe mine had a little different placement because it seemed natural and easy to just hit it and wasn't too disruptive.
And it is a pretty gutsy, pretty stable feeling bike for a 145 mil travel chassis. Like I was, you know, pretty encouraged by it to like ride some gnarlier lines and go faster, and I felt like it was really stout too. I didn't feel much flex in the frame, and it's really maneuverable and agile feeling.
Short chainstay is I think 16.5, so it's really snappy, feels really maneuverable on the trail.
Yeah, I agree. I think the front and rear suspension worked really well. You can get them really well balanced together, and the harder you rode it, you know, the bike could handle whatever you threw at it. And it was pretty agile too. You know, for a bike that's bordering 6 inches of travel.
What do you think about the value? I mean, I rode the Trigger 1 on the women's side, which is equivalent to a different build on the men's, $4,000, which seemed like a pretty good price for what you got with that. Not a full carbon frame, but mostly carbon. Good spec. But I felt like they sort of down-spec'd in good places, you know, like places that didn't affect ride quality. You know, you got good suspension and great tires and stuff that's really going to affect the ride.
Yeah, I think some of the kind of the descending prowess that this bike has a bit to it, where it feels comfortable and kind of the rougher terrain. It has the 780 wide bar, 45 millimeter stem, so it kind of has a little bit of a downhill bike-ish feel when you're in the middle of the bike. And that kind of is apparent.
That being said, it wasn't the top pick for me in the category, descending or climbing wise. That would have been the Norco Sight that we also rode, which is also a 27.5 wheel bike, similar travel numbers, really similar geometry. But the Norco, to me, felt much more confident, much more supple and stable in the downhills, and I don't think it gave up anything maneuverability-wise. Who do you guys think this would be for?
Well, I mean, I ride in Southern California, which is a lot of fire road to single track, and I actually think this would excel there because you've got those long kind of steep fire road climbs in between sort of aggressive single track. So, I mean, I can definitely see myself like locking it out for the climb, just settling in, grinding it out, and then hitting the switch again when I descend. You know, I think it would make a lot of sense for that style of riding when you've got kind of different terrain like that.
I can see even, you know, like a casual enduro racer or someone who would want to, if they're carrying a pack and maybe an extra helmet and enough tools and supplies to get them through a long day of racing, maybe they'll want to have a little slightly more efficient bike because you have road climbs in that, you have, exactly, in the transfer, you have road climbs, you have dirt roads, all sorts of stuff to get in between these stages. And that might be an asset to conserve energy.
Yeah, definitely.
So there it is. For the rider who's going to utilize those 2 suspension modes, the Trigger is a great option. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to Bike Magazine's channel for all the rest of the Bible videos.